Hello everyone, I'm Brazen Eagle and thank you for joining me here. So today, we have an interesting article from Breitbart detailing sex dolls and people who want to control them. So, according to researchers, sex robots should have consent modules. University researchers from institutions around the globe are working together to design ethical sex robots that have to consent before engaging in intercourse. They envision consent modules added to sex robots that humans would engage with before sexual relations. So to me, it sounds like they're going to put consent modules on dildos. But anyways, Anko Peters of Australia's University of Wollongong and Pim Hasselager, an associate professor at the Netherlands Radboud University, published a research article recently that made the case for ethical sex robots. In the article, which was highlighted this week by the College Fix, Hasselager and Peters proposed that sex robots should have to consent prior to intercourse with their owners. The researchers argue that a consent module would cultivate compassion in their owners. We propose that our virtue ethics, can be used to address ethical issues central to discussions about sex robots. In particular, we argue virtue ethics is well equipped to focus on the implications of sex robots for human moral character. So they're interested in human moral character. What does that mean to them? Our evaluation develops in 4 steps. First, we present virtue ethics as a suitable framework for the evaluation of human-robot relationships. Second, we show the advantages of our virtue ethical accounts of sex robots by comparing it to current instrumentalist approaches, showing how the former better captures the reciprocal interaction between robots and their users. Third, we examine how a virtual ethical analysis of intimate human-robot relationships could inspire the design of robots that support the cultivation of their virtues. We suggest that a sex robot which is equipped with a consent module could support the cultivation of compassion when used in supervised therapeutic scenarios. Fourth, we discuss the ethical implications of our analysis for user autonomy and responsibility. It really sounds like they just want to control you if you use a sex robot. But Breitbart News reported earlier this year that, of course, feminists and their allies in Sweden were calling for a government ban on sex robots. The activists argued that sex robots normalize violence against women. Now, I don't know if Sweden has legalized prostitution, but this is very interesting. And to be honest here, this picture, is quite ugly, quite terrifying, but if you have seen sex dolls or robots apparently within the past few years, the advancement of how sex dolls look is quite striking, but that's neither here nor there. But there we have it. Like I've said before on this channel, sex robots are inevitable. But of course, feminists and their allies are attempting to control these devices. They are worried that the power that sex robots have will greatly diminish when these robots, dolls, devices are, of course, mainstream or relatively mainstream. Feminists and their allies argue that owning or using a sex robot will normalize violence against women, which is absolutely untrue. It's almost the exact same argument with violence in video games. Do video games make people violent? Of course not. Video games could make people more aggressive, but aggression is not violence. Sex robots, of course, are an avenue for males who otherwise could not get sex, but this way it could give them a sexual outlet. If anything, it could decrease the pent-up energies that a male could have towards females. And personally, I'm very interested in seeing how sex robots could change the social atmosphere between men and women. Will I ever use one? Probably not. But it's interesting to see the potential future with sex dolls and robots for men becoming more prominent. Now, some may say that sex robots are weird and continue to eliminate the relationships between men and women. I somewhat agree, Like I said earlier, I do see this, though, as an alternative route for men to get their needs met in the absence of good women. If men could choose between a sex robot or a woman who would take care of him and his needs, then you know what? Men would probably choose the good woman. Men love women. It's almost built into our DNA. But in 2019, women are increasingly demanding and refusing to be good. How many debt-free virgins without tattoos are there really? If anything, it seems like men generally realize that women aren't necessarily worth it anymore. And women only want to use men. Women don't really add very much to a man's life, maybe with the exception of birthing children. Now, that's regarding sex robots as an avenue for males. I do want to tackle this article and this issue with the supposed university researchers, their supposed research. They claim that sex robots need to have a consent module installed before engaging in intercourse because of ethics, because of their beliefs. I've been told most of my life, and maybe even for your life as well, that you cannot force your beliefs on anyone else because that is bad. And you know what, in this case? Ethics are beliefs held by individuals. Ethics can change. These university professors are trying to put their beliefs and ultimately their ethics on the general public, as well as you individually. These researchers have 4 steps or points that they want to bring up regarding how ethical they are and how everyone else should be forced to follow their guidelines. So, of course, their first step, they want virtue ethics to be the guidelines of evaluation for human and robot relationships. Frankly, who really cares about virtue ethics when regarding robots? Do we do the same for toasters and vehicles? I would say, don't treat your toys like trash, and most people probably won't complain. Step 2, university researchers or professors, they want to show supposed advantages of their virtue ethics of sex robots in comparison to current approaches. Okay, but what are the disadvantages currently? You only said you brought up advantages. What about the disadvantages? What about other ethical avenues that they could have taken? Ethics, of course, is larger than just virtue ethics. Number 3. These people want to examine how their virtue ethics could inspire the design of robots to further support their own virtues. It really sounds like they want to control how you engage with a sex robot if you choose to do so, or even if you are allowed to use one at all if you paid for it. They say they want to cultivate compassion when used in a supervised, therapeutic scenarios. They want to control you and a sex robot. This sounds like, partially, that they want to watch you have sex with a robot to ensure that you are compassionate and following their guidelines. And now their step number 4. They want to control your interactions with the robot according to their supposed ethical implications, user autonomy, and responsibility. If you paid for something, you assume responsibility for it. Like I said earlier, as long as you really don't trash your own robot, which you should have the right to, some would say, who cares? It's the same with cars and microwaves even. Yes, I don't like it when people treat their microwaves poorly, but is it my place right now to control their actions if they have the absolute authority and responsibility over it? We don't currently live in an authoritarian society, to a degree, at least in the moment. Maybe someday, but today is not that day. Either way, as sex robots and dolls become more and more available, we will see more and more articles like this being published. If anything, the introduction of mainstream sex dolls, robots, devices, these will take away power from women and their allies. This, on at least an individual level, can be a great thing for men because it takes away feminists' power, and at least women's power. But, until that happens, thank you very much for watching. I'm Brazen Eagle, and I hope you have a great day.